Hi, folks. Today we're going to talk a little bit about strength work. And I will tell you, if you really want to be better at your running, you almost certainly need to be doing strength work. I'm sure there's a subset of the population that has some type of a job or something that gives them all the strength that they need. But for the vast majority of us, you need to do the strength work. And I will tell you, if time is an issue, you say, man, I can't do all this running and this strength work, I can't get everything done, then you should probably run less because you're better off to run less and be strong, core, glutes, hips, feet, I mean, everything. You'll be a better runner. Now, if you can do both, run what you're running now and do the strength work, that's great. But if push comes to shove and time is the issue, then cut the running back. Now, I will tell you, for me, time is not the issue. The issue is I don't enjoy strength work. So when it comes to my running plan, it's pretty rare that I'm going to miss a run. I'm going to usually get every run. If it's supposed to be 8 miles, it's going to be 8 miles. I'm not going to say, gee, I'm only going to do 5 today or whatnot. I'm very, very consistent with running, which is important. With strength work, it doesn't take me much to get off task. It could be like, oh, there's a cloud in the sky today. Not a good day for strength work. Now, this year so far, I've been really good, kind of a New Year's resolution, really got to buckle down because I know it's important, and I've been getting my strength work done 2 to 3 times a week, every week since the beginning of the year. So I'm excited about that because I think that strength work should help, but it's not necessarily helping me. We'll get to that. So the first question everybody asks is, well, what should I do? And you can go on the internet, you can find all kinds of things, the best strength work for runners, the best this, the best that. But really what you want to find out is, well, what should I be focusing on? Because there isn't something on the internet that's going to tell you what you should be focusing on. So thankfully there's somebody who can help you. It's a guy by the name of Jay Deshary. You may or may not have heard of him. Jay is a biomechanics expert and physical therapist. He ran one of the speed clinics for 10 years. He just knows a lot about how we should run, why we're not running that way. And he's written a couple of books. The first book is Anatomy for Runners, again by Jay Deshary. And the second book is Running Rewired, which is essentially an update of this book. Not that there's new information, but the difference, both books are filled with a lot of self-tests that you can do that will tell you where your limitations lie as far as being a better runner. And he will then make suggestions on exercises or drills or flexibility, what you can do to correct that in yourself. Anatomy for Runners is a bit of a heavy read, if you will. He gets a little bit deeper into some of the physiology and the biomechanics, and some people might get glossed over by that, but it's a very, very detailed book. Now, it's also detailed. Running Rewired is, I hesitate to use the word dumbed down, but it's not as heavy of a read. It's a lot easier for everybody to understand, and again, filled with tests that you can do to determine where you might have some opportunity and then suggestions for how you might capture those opportunities. But you got to make sure that you're capturing the opportunities correctly. So let me tell you what my current story is and why I'm kind of hot on this topic right now. So I developed some nagging knee issues at the beginning of January. I shouldn't say developed at the beginning of January. I've had them for many years. I've had MRIs, I've had x-rays. Nobody can ever find anything wrong. And they always say, just, keep running unless it hurts too much because we can't figure out what to do with you. And I've just always kind of plugged along. This time it felt a little bit different, so I ended up going to a sports chiro who took a look at it, and he determined that the issue was actually not with my knee, which is why nobody ever found anything wrong with the knee, but tightness in my groin, and that tightness in the groin was pulling on the knee. So look, kind of a pro tip here. Most of the time, if you have a problem with your knee, it's not the knee, it's something else causing the problem, and that was the case here. He also determined that tightness in the groin was coming from my right knee caving in a little bit, which is usually a sign of weak hips, and that was making the groin tight and blah, blah, blah. So in addition to him doing some active release therapy on me, he wanted me to be doing something to really fire up my right glute every single day to fatigue it. He recommended doing step-ups. That's where you've got 2 feet on the ground. You take, in this case, the right, go up on a step, lift with the glute, try not to push off with the left, step back down, and you do that over and over again. And rather than giving me reps, usually people would say, do 3 by 10 or 3 by 20 or whatever. He said, I'm not going to give you reps. I just want you to do it to fatigue. I want you to get the muscle fatigue. And I discovered something. I couldn't fatigue it. I could do 300 of these steps and it didn't get fatigued and tired out. After lots of testing on my own and trying various things, I determined that if any other part of my body had a chance to do this movement, in particular if my left leg was involved, it picked up the slack. I wasn't firing that glute at all and getting going on that. That led me to, he recommended a couple of personal trainers that he had worked with before who are really good at biomechanics and trying to figure out ways to make sure you do exercises that you're not cheating the exercises so that you get the right benefit. Believe me, this is an abridged version of the story. So yesterday I had my second session with the personal trainer, and she had me go through a series of exercises that there were only two of the ones we did that I had never done before. Everything else was something that I was either currently doing today in this year, or I've done them in the past. So I knew how to do those exercises. In fact, if she had given me a list and just said, go home and do these, there were two where I would not have the equipment to be able to do it at home. But the other ones I could have all just done at home. And if she'd have handed that to me, said, go home and do these, I'd have come back and she'd say, well, how was it? I'd say, actually, this was a little bit light. Wasn't very hard. I didn't feel very challenged. Instead, I did it with her as she watched me and corrected me and said, we got to do it like this. Let's get this muscle. Let's stop. Let's move it, on and on and on. And when I was done, I was dripping with sweat. It was clear as a bell that although I was doing a lot of these things and had done a lot of these things in the past, my body was really effective at cheating. And so while I would do the exercise, I wasn't working the correct muscle, therefore not getting the benefit, which is why when he says, hey, I think your right glute's a little bit weak, I go, I'm doing this glute work. I do the glute work 2 or 3 times a week. How can this be? Because I was really only working the glute a little bit. I was putting a lot of the work on my hamstrings, and I'm running with my hamstrings and biking with my hamstrings. And guess what's sore on me a lot are my hamstrings. So the moral being that when you go through and hopefully you take a look at one of the books and you figure out what you need to work on, really, really, really pay attention to form. Really, really, really pay attention to exactly what muscle you should be feeling at. I don't think you necessarily need to go and have somebody watch you, although if you can, that's great. But it's really critical that you not only do the strength work, but you have to make sure that you're working the muscle that was intended to be worked. Otherwise, like me, you might be doing a lot of strength work that's actually not strengthening anything.